Welcome to Papa's Workshop. Well, today's the day. I am going to start up the FOXAlien 4040 XE for the first time. And I'm going to do that without the computer. We're going to use only the controller and we're going to move the machine around. And I'm going to show you just how easy it is and just how good the instructions are for that first time user that has never been around a CNC machine to be successful and have a lot of fun. So let's get started. This CNC machine by FOXAlien is designed, in my opinion, for the entry-level user. Yet I think it's robust enough that the experienced user can find it extremely useful in the shop because it does have that small footprint and you can do so many different things with it. You're not limited to having an internet connection. You can use the controller only. You can use virtually any software that you want to build design with it. So we're going to touch on these different areas today and even do a little project. Now that the FOXAlien 4040 XE is all put together, it's time to put it through its paces a little bit. Now I'm going to follow along with the manual to show you the step-by-step guide and how to make that first carve. Now the first thing I want to do is refer back to the manual because this actually shows you exactly how to use the X controller, and this provides you a workflow, and then it takes you step by step through each screenshot that you're going to see. Now it covers in detail actually how to set the 0 for the XY Z axis. It shows you step by step every single procedure and how to load the files into the computer. And then it moves on over to show you exactly how to use the Z probe also. And it even goes step by step on how to unlock the limit switches and what you need to be able to do. And I love these screenshots. And if you've never used the e-stop, it also talks you exactly through that and how it works. Okay, I have the machine plugged in now, so let's go ahead and turn this on. Okay, so this is the first menu that comes up, and you see that you have the control and you have the files. So the first thing that I want to be able to do is go ahead and hit, and these are touchscreen, so I'm going to do this, and it shows the alarm right up there. So the first thing I need to be able to do is unlock that. So I'm going to press that button, and now it says idle, so it's now unlocked. So the next thing that we need to do after we have this in the idle setting is select move, and then we'll select step. And what this does is going to tell me how much that it's going to be moving. And I'm going to go ahead and push that again, push it one more time, and then you can push it again, and see that'll be 10 millimeters. So if I push it again, brings it back to step. So we'll go through that. That's 0.05, and then that would be 0.1, 1, and then 10. So now, if I move the X and Y axis, then it's going to move that direction. So I'm going to go ahead and push this button, and I'm going to go over here and turn it to the machine so you can see it move. And I'm going to get this at a little bit different angle. Maybe you can see it better. So that is the X plus, so that moves it to the right. If I hit the X minus, it's going to move it to the left. If I hit the Y plus, it's going to move it in that direction. And the Y minus brings it back forward. Now if I wanted to be able to move this at a smaller increment, I hit that again and it brings it back to step. And I'm just going to go with the 1 millimeter this time. So we have that set. So let's go back over to the machine. And now it's going to move at much smaller amounts. And as far as the Z-axis, do the same thing. I can move it up and I can move it down. Now the next thing I want to do is select spindle, and then we can control the speed. Now it's actually on. Can you hear it? This is where the speed is controlled, right here. So let's go over here. And you can see that's how loud it is. Guys, you can barely hear it. We'll go ahead and increase the speed. The fan on top makes more noise than the spindle itself. And I'll slow it down. That is so quiet. It's absolutely amazing. So for those of you that may be in an area where you're concerned about noise, this is a very, very quiet machine. The only noise that's really going to be generated is the actual carving of the wood itself. I went ahead and turned this all the way down to 0, and now the spindle is off, and I'm going to hit return, and that returns me to the previous screen. Now I took one of the bits that they provide, and I went ahead and put that into the spindle. And we're going to tighten that. And I put an X right here. And this is going to be my XY work home position. I'm going to move the spindle over to this point. I'm going to lower the bit down, and we're going to set the X, Y, and the Z axis. So the first thing we're going to do is hit move. We're going to set a step, and this time we're going to go with the 10 to begin with to get over there fairly quick, and then I'm going to change that to a much smaller number to be able to dial it in. Now I start out with the 10 millimeters so I can get to where I want to go fairly quickly. And then once I get fairly close to that position, then I'm going to switch to a smaller increment to dial it in to exactly where I want it. And now that I'm close, let's go with the next one. We're getting pretty close to it now, so what I'm going to do is change the steps to a smaller number. And to be able to do that, I'm going to come right back over here and push the 10, and brings it back to the step, and we're going to do it at the 1 millimeter. So let's go ahead and move that now. So the X and Y now look pretty good. I think I'm going to move it over one more. Now the X and Y looks good. So now what I'm going to do is put a piece of paper under this. I'm going to come down one more time with the Z axis. And then I'm going to change the step again to a smaller number. So we're going to come back over here. It's at 1. So now I'm going to go back to step. And we're going to go down at 0.1. And we'll check it. And you can see the paper still moves freely. That's what I want. Right there I can feel it touching. And that's all I need. So I'm going to go over here. And now hit return. Set this, and I'm going to put this as set 0, and now I have my X, Y, and Z axis all set. So now I'll hit return, and I'm going to hit return one more time, this time. Now for this first time going through setting up the X, Y, and Z axis, I tried to do it very, very slow and show you each and every step. Now, one problem that I did run into during the assembly, I went ahead and I just put the spindle where the base of the spindle was at the bottom of the mount. Now, I want to go over to the machine and show you exactly what I'm talking about. During the assembly, this is where I put the spindle, right here where it was flush with the bottom. And I tell you now, don't do that. go ahead and lower it down. So we're going to fix that problem right now, because when I set the z-axis to 0 for the first time, right down here, I literally ran out of room. So we're going to correct that right now. And I'm just going to go ahead and loosen these 2 screws. I'm going to just lower that down. Now I don't really want it touching this switch, so I'm going to raise it up just a little bit, and then I'll tighten it back. Now that will give me plenty of room to be able to carve anything that I want, just having that extra space. So please consider that, and remember, during the assembly, just lower this down. Now that we've done this the first time, I'm going to go ahead and put a piece of wood for the project onto the CNC machine, and then we're going to set it up again. And then we're actually going to make that first carve. And this is using just the controller. I'm not using the computer at all for this process. The file that I'm going to use is saved on that little disk, a little SD card. That's what we're going to be able to send to the CNC machine to be able to carve. Now for this little first test piece, I'm just going to use my glue and my tape method, and I'm going to put down just 2 strips of tape. So I'm going to put one right here, and I'll put another one right there. Now over on I have an auxiliary wasteboard that I set here, because I'm going to be doing a project in a few minutes where we're going to cut all the way through the material, and I really don't want to mess up my wasteboard. So I'm going to set that right there to kind of get a measurement on where I need this. That will be good. Now the glue that I'm using is the Starbond medium glue. And I have a link in the description below where you can get a 15% discount on this glue. Now this glue and tape method work extremely well, and I'm just using the medium glue today, and I'm going to be using the accelerator. All you need to be able to do is just put the thin strip down on both places. Then I'll take the accelerator and just spray it on here. Then I'll just put it right down in position where I want it. Press that down for just a moment, and it will be secure and ready to be able to carve. Now remember, I do have a link down in the description should you want to use this method, because I've used this method now for a long time, very successfully. And if you would like to be able to take advantage of the 15% discount, that code is in the link in the description below. So now I'm going to take the disc and plug that in. And I'm going to hit Files. And now I'm going to select this one right there. And we have the X, Y, and 0 all zeroed out. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn the spindle on. Now off camera, I did go ahead and go through the process of setting up the X, Y, and Z axes all to 0. And then the next thing, your spindle is controlled by the controller itself. However, you do need to turn that knob up, because that controls the speed of the spindle. So when that was turned up, then I just simply hit send, and it starts to process. It is doing the first carving out the word FOXAlien. And the sound is super quiet. You can hardly hear this machine. Now what you're listening to now is the actual 100% full volume of this machine. as it's carving out this word FOXAlien. Now granted, I've got the camera up fairly close, so it's picking up the sound, but if you were here in the shop, you can barely hear it. In fact, if you were in the next room, you wouldn't hear this machine at all. I think the fan actually makes more noise than the spindle. Now the next thing I want to do is show you how to use the Z probe. And the first thing you want to do is just go ahead and measure the thickness. And if you measure the thickness of this, you're going to get about 15 millimeters. That is going to be the thickness of this. So we'll set that aside for a moment. And I want to be able to go into control. I want to be able to select set probe right here. And it has set. And if I hit minus, it'll be 14. If I hit plus, it'll be 15. So you can control the thickness. So if you're using a different probe, for an example, and if it was a different thickness, you could just change that. But since we have it at 15, that is going to be set. And then I can just hit the return key. And then from there, I want to be able to move the spindle up so that I can actually do the Z probe. So I'm going to select move. I'm going to select my step. And I'm going to go ahead and select that for 10. Now I do want to go ahead and move up on the y-axis. We'll go up 10. And we'll go up another 10. And we'll go to the right 10. And another 10. Now the z-axis will also need to go up. Now I'm going to take the probe. And we're going to place the probe underneath this spindle. And I'm going to need to go up again. At this point, all I need to be able to do is take the little alligator clip it onto the bit, and slide the little puck underneath the bit. Okay, I have the clip attached, and I have the probe underneath the bit. So I want to click on my Z probe. And let's see here, that's this one right there. And the probe is actually set now. So with that set, I'm going to go ahead and pull this out, set it back over here, and I'm going to go back to my move command, and I'm going to move the X and Y back to its position. There we go. I moved the Z-axis down also, and now I want to be able to recarve this exact same file. So I just went ahead and put the little SD card in, select the same file. You'll notice that my X, Y, Z all are set to 0. That's as it should be. I'm going to go ahead and turn the spindle up, and remember it's controlled by the controller. That doesn't do anything at this point, but I just need to have it up, and then I hit send. And this is actually cutting over the exact same point as it did before. Well, now that we've completed the first carve, what do I like and what do I not like? Well, from the standpoint of not having an internet, this is a great machine because you can do everything with the controller and you don't need the internet. In fact, you don't even need the computer down in your shop. If you're concerned about noise with your neighbors, this again is a perfect machine. It is very, very quiet. As well as the footprint. A lot of people are very limited on space, and this machine has a small footprint, but still it is a very capable machine. So from the standpoint of the likes, I like literally just about everything that I can think of. From the time I opened up the box to the assembly was extremely easy. If it takes less than an hour to assemble this machine, not bad. And with me, even with all the camera work, it still took a little over 2 hours, but all in all, that's not bad. So for you, at your home, you can probably get this together in about 30 minutes to an hour. Now, what I don't like, there's really only one thing that I can think of that I don't like. And I really do not like the metal hold down, those clamps, because things can happen. And at some point, I can promise you, because I've done it myself, I would take that machine and I would be running through those metal clamps. So from that standpoint, the next project that I'm going to do is take my bump stops that I have used on my other CNC machine for quite some time. I'm going to redesign them specifically for the FOXAlien 4040 XE machine, and we're going to carve those out. Now I'm going to design it in easel. I'm going to save the G code, and we're going to do the same thing. I'm not going to bring the computer to the shop, and we're going to carve those out in the next video. You're not going to want to miss it. So please, if you haven't subscribed, by all means, hit that subscribe button down there and the little bell next to it, because you're not going to want to miss this next video. And again, I want to thank the wonderful folks at FOXAlien for being able to provide this machine to me, that I could bring it to you, test it out, review it, and show you what it can do. And I'm real excited to have it in the shop. And I'm going to be putting this to use in the near future for some other projects that I have planned. So again, to the folks at FOXAlien, thank you very much. And also, I want to thank all of my Patreon family. That community is really beginning to grow, and I think it is fantastic, and I love being able to have my Patreons with the support that they provide to this channel. And to all of you out there, thank you for watching the video today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next project. If you're on a budget and you want to add a CNC machine to your shop, this is a great choice.